In this session, we will talk with Steve Simonson, who runs a multi-million-dollar business, and he will tell us how you can set up your Amazon business that you become not an operator, but the owner and visionary of your business, how you can set up the team accountability, that everything is working in your business without you as a director and founder. And I'm happy to invite Steve to the broadcast.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Steve. And we know that you have built quite big companies in the last years. You are one of the pioneers in e-commerce. I believe you are running at the moment, or a company runs without you, which is a big e-commerce seller. So before we jump to your slides, maybe just if you want to tell a little bit more about yourself, you're welcome. If not, we can just do
Sure. Well, the quick and dirty, as I call it, about me is that I'm old and I've been around a long time. So I did my first internet sales in the late 90s, and we did multi-channel from there. And so over time, we got experience on how to sell in multiple channels, including on Amazon or on, D2C. We used to just call that the .com. And we made many mistakes, thousands, tens of thousands of mistakes. And so I can tell you about lots of those. And along the way, sometimes you do stuff right. And that's really what I'm going to focus on today, is what we learned from all those mistakes. And the good news is, along the way, I've been able to buy companies and sell companies, and mostly in the last few years, I've exited all of those companies. And the nice thing is, they continue to run when I wasn't there before, and they continue to run when I'm not there now. And that's, I think, a testament to systems.
Perfect. So while your slides are loading, I wanted to say that Steve is going to participate in European Seller Conference event for Amazon sellers, which we're organizing for already 6th time in Prague. It's happening March 18, 21st, and Steve will be there. If you have time, please come join us, meet Steve and a few other experts, which are coming from US and other European countries. And we're ready with Steve's presentation. I'm bringing it on the screen. We can see it. You don't own a business, you own a job until you fix this.
That's right. That is an absolute reality for so many founders, right? We get excited and then we start doing, stuff, and we got this idea and we mastermind with some people. We go to the conference, we learn a few things, and things start to go. And initially we're a little bit surprised. We're like, I can't believe this is real, right? And as you start going and you're getting excited, you realize, gosh, I got another thing to do. And now that I've learned about this, there's a whole nother thing I need to learn, right? You learn about sourcing your product. Now you got to learn about shipping your product, right? And then you learn about shipping it. Now you got to learn about receiving it, in Amazon or wherever it is. And then you got to receive. Now you got to learn how to sell it. And then you got to learn how to do PPC, and all of these things just are endless things. The founder trap is that people think that they need to be the expert in every part of their business. Otherwise, how would they train people, right? That's very logical. If I don't know, how can I train? And therefore, how would I be able to grow this business? And I would say that, during a certain part, you probably need to know everything. But at a later stage, even a middle stage, probably earlier than you think, you should really start to shift some of that responsibility onto people who are capable and ready to go. So let's think about, what if we owned a business instead of a job that just made you work 24/7? So this is sad, Steve, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, if you're gone and your business stops producing revenue, then you don't have a real business, right? And so let's think about that for a minute. Now, on Amazon, you have a little bit of a benefit, because Amazon will sell whether you're sleeping or whether you're, near or far, whatever. But if you don't handle customer complaints, if you don't put in new stock, if you don't look for PPC, you don't look for items that may be flagged for, this or that, then in fact, you have the same thing. So Amazon gives you a little insulation around this. But the truth is, if the business is not growing or not selling, if you're not there relentlessly day to day, then you probably own a job, not a business at this stage. And that's okay. Just to be clear, that's how I started out. That's how we all start out. The question is, can you make that, next step in the journey? And, when we like to think of, the founding journey, we're the hero of that journey. And I would say be less of a hero and be, more thoughtful about getting the other people in your business to be heroes, even if those people don't yet exist. So if your business is going to decay without you and, slowly start to slow down, less growth, less revenue, you actually own a job. So sorry. Now, I know this will be redundant from some of those who I've spoken with in the past, and maybe have seen me in Prague or other places speaking, but I always want to tell you how important it is to start with your personal why. This is not the Simon Sinek book, Find Your Why. That's about your business why. Still relevant. I use different terminology, but the finding your personal why is what I found to be the ultimate empowerment. And so I was able to do that in my late 20s with a mentor, and it took me 2 years. I hated most every second of it. I delayed. I was a very bad student, but I finally got it done. And when I did, oh my gosh, it was like a physiological feeling that you get throughout your entire body. When you read the statement of your why after lots of work and lots of back and forth, you're like, holy crap, now I really know what's happening. So that is your single source of truth, when the light shining on the hill where you know where to lead the troops. Without that why, you tend to be much more circular in your movements and erratic and not always progressing up that mountain of accomplishment. So I can't tell you exactly how to find your why, but I am going to go into it in depth in Prague in March from the stage and give you kind of the steps on how to find your why. And it's to me, it was the pivotal thing that took me from a relatively small $1 million operator in the local city that I was in to a national operator doing, lots and lots of revenue, at times, well above 9 figures. So very, very important. And that's why I have the big detective's lens. Now, I start with what I call Axiom 0. I don't know nothing about nothing. And again, many people have heard me hear me say this, but it is really one of the most important things. If we step back and have a little bit of humility, it helps us realize that, a lot of times we become the bottleneck. If everybody in your company thinks that you're the only one with the answers, or if you are willing to give them answers every time they ask the question, instead of challenging them, and I'll come back to that, then you become a bottleneck, right? And it's kind of fun to be the bottleneck. You don't call yourself the bottleneck. You call yourself the best firefighter in the world. Every time they got a problem, you're like, just do this, just do that, just do that. And you are that hero, right? It feels good. You feel necessary. You feel accomplished. And your brain goes, I'm really important. The problem is, you self-reinforce that behavior. If your team says, well, I can just ask Steve for the answer and he'll give me the answer. And that way, if he's wrong, I don't get the blame. And if he's right, I get the credit. And I don't really have to learn anything. I don't have to be responsible for anything. And that is a bottleneck philosophy that will hurt us all. And again, I've been the key bottleneck. So I like to back up. I don't know nothing about nothing. Let me learn and let the team teach me. And if the team comes and says, hey, I've got this problem, what should I do? You don't say, even if you don't say, go do this, this, and this. You say, what do you think we should do? And if this is the first time you've asked them to bring their own solution when they bring you a problem, then they'll go, oh, I don't know. And you go, well, go figure it out and come back to me in a half an hour and tell me your solution. And if they come back and the solution is going to hurt you monetarily or otherwise, then you go, think about it a little bit more. But if the solution has got plausible potential to be workable, then let them go experiment with it. The point is, you don't say, here's the solution. You say, what's your answer to this problem? What is your solution? And that creates a whole new behavior in your company. I can't explain in the time we have how important that is, but it becomes a huge opportunity, not just for you to be relieved from making every decision, but indeed for your team to see that their opinions, their ideas matter, and that they are valued members of the team. Very, very important. Okay. Now, I'm not doing each axiom in order here, but I'm going to throw in some of my axioms. Now, you can look up the definition of axiom. My version of axiom is if I'm the old guy just repeating myself over and over, then I've marketized these things into axiom instead of just some old guy repeating himself. But the premise of axiom 2 is that you don't have a real business until you can pour money in the top and have profit come out of the bottom. So that means you get a predictable cost per acquisition, which kind of makes your marketing funnel, as long as it's working at that ratio, endless, right? If you can pour $1,000 in the top and you get $100 of profit, per order, and that adds up to, let's call it 2,000 of total profit. So 1,000 in the top, and it gives you 20 orders, $100 of profit. That's 2,000 in total profit. Well, gosh, you would do that all day long. 1,000 turns into 2,000, right? You do 10,000, it turns into 20. You do 100, it turns into 200. All like that's just endless. Now, the truth is, every funnel, when you pour money in the top, has a breaking point where the ratio, the cost per acquisition, or customer acquisition costs, I know that's the modern CAC way of people referring to it, but the whole point is you want to know your ratio and you want to manage it very, very closely so that you can pour money in the top and have gold coming out of the bottom. By the way, you can thank Nano Banana for that beautiful image. Speaking of beautiful, I really do think that busy is the new stupid. There has been this hustle and grind culture. If they're like, if you're not up at 6 a.m., you're not going to succeed because of, I was up at 4 a.m. and I'll be up at, until 2 a.m. I only sleep for about 12 minutes each day. Like all of that is nonsense. Okay, let's just take a breath. Everybody needs sleep. Everybody needs fulfillment in their lives, family, travel, whatever in your life is important. And we also need fulfillment from accomplishing things professionally. But just because you're super busy or chaotic doesn't show me that you're really smart or really successful. It shows me you don't know how to manage. And that's another bottleneck symptom, right? If you have to do everything, why in the world would you need to do things 6 a.m. and 11 p.m.? That just doesn't make sense. That's poor planning. And by the way, some of those things are learned behaviors, right? If you go, well, my, customer service is on this time zone and my supplier's on that time zone, it's okay to say, well, you know what? Maybe they should stretch to you from time to time, right? So the world doesn't, you don't have to run, the errands for the world. The world should help you out. Remember that business is a tool for you. That's part of what its job is, not the other way around. You are not a tool for the business. And by the way, if you systematize some of this stuff, I'm only available for meetings during this time, the behaviors will modify. And they go, oh, well, I need to save all of my questions, headaches, or whatever, instead of impromptu, interruptions. I just box them into, from 9 to 10 a.m. every day, Steve is available, or Mondays and Tuesdays, he's available, whatever it is. But I'm just telling you, hustle and grind, and this idea that you have to be awake every second of every day trying to, accomplish some business thing is idiotic, honestly. It really is unnecessary. Now, here's me as a construction guy trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, although there's plenty of space. So I don't know what the problem is. But the real purpose of this is to share Axiom 3. So every time you make a change or an upgrade, right? You don't make a change if you don't think it's going to help you improve something. It most often feels like a downgrade at first. And by the way, the bigger the change is, the worse it feels. So if you say, hey, we used to make purchase orders this way, just by sending an email or whatever to my supplier. Now I want you to use the purchasing document in QuickBooks or Xero or whatever you're using for your accounting. So you're going to make a purchase order, and people will resist that. They will hate it. Go, well, it was a lot easier just to send an email. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but it's not trackable. It's not quantifiable. It's hard to figure out how much we have on order. Like all of the things that you want out of a financial scorekeeping system are quite impossible if you're just sending emails. Email is actually one of the worst things in the world. I can talk more about that later, but my point is, when you are trying to get something done, anticipate that upgrade being a problem at first. And again, the larger the change is, the worse it will feel, especially if you have an organization. But the secret here is, if you know it's going to be a little bit painful, people will move on with their lives. Now, I said earlier that I didn't want you to just constantly be in hero mode. It doesn't mean I don't want you to perform well. It just means I want the systems to be your day-to-day reliance, right? And so instead of rewarding the superstars, maybe you have to hire some, hot shot, or you're the hot shot. And sometimes those hot shots are not always great. We had one of the most brilliant guys I've ever met working for our organization, but he was mean to everybody. He was just, I call him a kiss up, kick down kind of fella. And he was just mean to everybody. And I tried to coach him, and he really did have excellent capacity, but he was just so in his head. He felt like a superstar. He felt like, he was irreplaceable. Eventually he had to be fired. And everybody in the organization is like, what took you so long? Right? We looked like idiots in management because we didn't act. My point here is, orchestrate your systems. Don't breed superstars that can destroy the culture of your business. That doesn't mean you don't want to have great people. People who fit your culture, people who understand how to build your business, can be the most valuable partners and assets and secrets to your business. So, I've had so many of those great people throughout the organizations, but they didn't treat other people poorly. They matched our values. Very important. Okay, we're almost done here, but this is a big one. Axiom 9, no score, no game.
Yeah, I think it looks like we lost Steve. I hope he will notice that. Meanwhile, so he mentioned few things, how to get your why for your business. And he mentioned that he will share that in a European Seller Conference in Prague. So again, one more pitch. If you haven't been with us in Prague, please join us. If you have been with us, we will welcome you when you come back. To be honest, we already, I think, have about 100 registrations. Usually we get close to 200 people for this event. So we already have half room. And probably at this point, about 70% are returning attendees who have been at our event, so they know the value. And Steve Simonson also was there for, I think, 2 or 3 times with us, and he was last year, and he got, I think his presentation was the most voted, the highest. That's why we are inviting him again. And I will take a chance maybe to share a screen and show a little bit more about this event, since Steve still is not here. The European Seller Conference is usually designed with 4 days. The first day this year is dedicated for VIP sellers. It's on March 18. Here we spent the whole day with about 20 VPs, 25. And this year, Steve Simonson will be leading a morning workshop for 3 hours. It's called Founder to Founder. You can, of course, get more information about his workshop and the VP Day also on the website. We have a dedicated page for VP Day. And so, yeah, basically, in the morning, we get Steve Simonson's workshop. What you are hearing now in this presentation, in this video, he will go in more details with actionable steps and advices. Later in the afternoon, we'll have fun activity, not fun, I mean like regular activities to visit a castle in Prague. We will have a short boat trip and beer tasting, because Czech Republic is known for beer. And then we will all gather in the VIP dinner in the evening, and VIP dinner together with speakers and sponsors. And the main conference, which people are all usually coming for, is on 19th and 20th, which is Thursday and Friday. And during this event, we'll have this year about 10 speakers, 10, 11 speakers. We have a lot of breaks for networking and visiting sponsors. And the fourth day is what we call bar camp. It's an unconference type of event. And it will be like a continuation of what everybody will do in the main conference. And if they have still unanswered questions, but obviously in the main conference, we have a fixed agenda and fixed speakers. But in the bar camp, everybody will be able to be in front of others, presenting or talking or sharing knowledge, or even bringing some topic which they are stuck with and trying to find other people who can help them. So that's the idea of bar camp, where it's a lot of interaction, a lot of things are happening at the same time in 3 or 4 rooms, where people can discuss and share their knowledge, or some other experts can bring their presentations and present their strategies as well. And these are confirmed speakers. One of them is Steve Simonson. Then Daniela is coming. She actually, during the time, will stay in Peru, and she's flying from Peru. Job from Netherlands. Rob Hahn, I think he's representing one of the biggest Amazon sellers. So maybe it was top 1 or top 3 Amazon.com sellers. There's another successful Amazon seller from Austria, Marco. Michal, he's from Czech Republic, will be the only Czech representative among speakers this year. Brent Zachratnik used to be on our stage. He's a PPC specialist. Steven Selikov, he's a product development specialist and sourcing specialist, I believe. Joanna is known in the industry as an AI guru, so she posts a lot about AI-related topics for Amazon sellers. I wanted to mention one more interesting thing, which we tested last year, and it was very successful and people liked it. If you join European Seller Conference this year, you will have a chance to be on the stage and present. So you might be a successful seller, or maybe you're a seller coming from a different background, but you have knowledge which you want to share with sellers. Let's say you have marketing knowledge, some background, and you have something really good and valuable to share with Amazon sellers. You can go on the stage. Even if you're a service provider, as long as you join this event as service provider or sponsor, you also have a possibility to apply to deliver a lightning talk. What is lightning talk? It's a 10-minute presentation which you will prepare in advance, and during the event we'll have 6 presenters, so it's a 1-hour session, 10 minutes each. It will be very, very strict. Everybody has just 10 minutes, and we cut out when 10 minutes are gone. And last year I believe we got over 20 applications, and we got 6 or even 7 people selected. And these are the pictures from these people presenting on the stage. And we got also good feedback, and us as a Orange Click team, we also like to see new faces on the stage, and Lightning Talk is kind of a test, to see if there are some talents who can really deliver nice strategies and valuable content, but maybe we haven't discovered these people yet. So yeah, that's if you would decide to join this conference. Lightning Talk applications are closing on February 18. Then we have about a few days or 1 week to decide to choose the 6 Lightning Talks, and then these people who are chosen will have possibility to present on March 20th. What else? If you join this event, you also get access to WhatsApp group. We do have in Orange Click community WhatsApp group, which a lot of people want to join, and we unfortunately don't send invitations to everyone. These invitations are only open to people who join our physical in-person events. Okay, good news is that we have Steve back. Hello, Steve.
Oh man, I was just talking away. My screen was still good. Everything was good.
So we are still live. If you can share your screen and continue from Axiom 8, I believe.
No, right here.
Yeah, this one. You started, and so basically, if we can start from scratch, this one.
No problem. Okay, so as we go through, everybody, we're now on Axiom 9, where I like to point out that we say it simply, no score, no game. But another way to think of it is, if you're not measuring it, you're not managing it. And this is true in any business. The only way to get out of, gut feels or emotions is to really just bring math to the solution. And so when you're trying to hire somebody for a job, you want to figure out how do you define success mathematically to see if they're doing a good job. If you're not measuring it, you're not managing it. If you hire somebody for new product development, as an example, if you just say, go build a product that can do $1 million a year, that's really great. That sounds exciting to you. And then you realize they sold the product for $1 million in a year, but it cost you 1.1 million to produce the product because you didn't give them a countervailing measurement like margin or contribution margin or what have you. So one of the things is that you say, well, yes, I want the top line to go up, but I want the midline. This is where you measure margin at the midline. The bottom line, by the way, is where profit stuff is. The midline has to be managed with that new product development. And they're responsible for pricing. They're responsible for product market fit. They're responsible for those two lines. They're not responsible for the bottom line, profit at the bottom, right? All those operating things are not part of their deal. So you want to give measurements, you want to give KPIs, and they need to make sense mathematically. This is something that every department has, every hire. And if you don't know them, just again, start going to, the mymentorsteve.com and saying, hey, what's a good KPI for this position? And it's a free thing. It's a bot and has a bunch of my training there. mymentorsteve.com. Yeah, it's a free bot and it's actually pretty good. The good news is there are literally so many documents there. If you find yourself stuck, anyone who finds themselves stuck, and it's relevant to things that I talk about, product sourcing, product development, building teams, systems, etc., including a bunch of internal training stuff that people don't get access to, it can be very helpful. Okay, so let's move into Axiom 13. And again, I'm not doing these numerically. I'm doing these just to call out some very important ones for our time today. So for Axiom 13, we want to ask ourselves, before we tread down that new path, is the juice worth the squeeze? So this means our allocation of time, of money, even energy must be considered before we, run down the new path. New is always exciting. So founders you might hear it called shiny object syndrome and things like that, but they hear, oh, new idea, and they get excited because doing the same old thing they were doing the last 3 weeks or 3 months, not as fun. Even though the thing that's making money is the thing that they've been doing the last 3-4 months. So I want you to be sure you ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? And put differently, people in the tech world call this first principles. Should you be doing it at all? Like, there are a lot of things I see people doing, and I'm like, if you stop doing that, your business would never know the difference. You would not have to spend any time thinking about it, managing it, or otherwise. And the consequence is nothing. You should not be doing that at all. First principles thinking, or is the juice worth the squeeze thinking, is really important. Okay, so we're getting into what I call the big picture now. So if you're going to launch a rocket, you want to figure out first where you're launching that thing to. That's strategy, right? If you point that rocket even a few degrees off, you're going to be in a different solar system. So you want to really be defined on what your vision is. We sometimes call this the strategic objective. And that is probably the most important part of your business, to know what you are doing within your business itself. And so once you nail down your strategy, then you start to build the systems that allow that strategy to come to life. If we're going to use the rocket metaphor, what's the shape of the rocket? What are we fueling it with? What are the things that we need to do to get the fuel into the rocket safely? All of these things then are your systems. And then finally, before we launch that rocket, we better be sure we've got the people around us to be able to scale. And scale used to just mean people. That was the code for hiring people. With AI today and being able to have agents do things, it just means resources. So people and adequate resources properly applied can help you launch into that scale and experience growth that people, don't fully understand. All of this must be wrapped around your own internal culture and values, which are a reflection of mostly the founder. So if you have a bunch of people in your business lying, cheating, and stealing, you should be looking in the mirror first. But if you're not promoting or enforcing your vision, or meaning your values, then you also have a management issue. So if somebody steals from you and you're like, "Hey, don't steal from me, that was mean," and then they steal from you again, you're like, "Hey, I said don't steal from me," but you don't take any action, the rest of the organization goes, "Oh, we should just steal. That's what we do here." So the cultural value is very, very important. What do you think?
Yes, Steve, actually, you mentioned AI coming into businesses. How did affect your companies in terms of like firing people, or you just restructured what people do, or?
Well, to the honest truth is, everybody who says they're laying off people due to AI, they're lying. There are very few jobs that can be replaced by AI today. There are tasks that AI can do, and those tasks need managed. But we're heavily, I have a software company. We're heavily doing AI. There's very little AI that is replacing people today. Certainly not in the past 3 years. And I know that people are issuing press releases. Amazon cutting jobs. This guy's cutting jobs. It's all due to AI. The truth is, they had too many people. They did the juice worth the squeeze math. They're like, fire them and blame it on AI. It's cleaner. Mm-hmm. For you guys, I want you guys to think about the jobs that need done, a point-to-point win. And if an AI bot or an AI assistant, whatever you want to call it, we call them agents, but if an AI agent can handle this point-to-point task, and there's a method to see if it's doing it daily, and so on, then that task can be assigned to an agent. And for sure, we have many positive agent outcomes. And if you wish, I can share more about those later on, Augustas.
Sure. Yeah. All right.
So
let's move on.
AI agents can really make a difference. I used to say it's all people. Now it's people running AI and being smart. Mm-hmm. Okay, so even though this one lines up with 13, this one's 14, boomerang delegations are one of my least favorite things, because it's when you assign a task to somebody and then you're like, great, I've assigned that task and I'm going to check on that, in a week or two or whatever it is. And then the task comes back and hits you in the head like a boomerang does. And I'll give you a very quick example. I had a company president in one of my companies and I said, hey, I want this to happen. And he's like, got it. I'm on it, right? And so I feel good. I'm the CEO chairman. I sail off into the sunset, take my nap, and sip my adult beverage. And then the president calls his, head of merchandising, new product person. Hey, I want this to happen. New product goes, yeah, I got it, boss. And then new product calls basically a VA and goes, hey, I want this done stat, immediately. And the VA calls me, the CEO, and goes, hey, how do I do this? Right? That was the ultimate boomerang example, because it literally took, and by the way, that took nearly 2 weeks to happen. All this time, I thought they were making progress and they should be nearly done with the task. They did nothing except continue to delegate it out without checking that delegation. That was poor. By the way, that president got fired, and that was poor systems management. So I want you guys to find ways in your system to define the outcomes, give the right resources, and then any documentation or SOP bot. We use SOP bots now instead of big lists of SOPs to help, and that avoids those boomerangs. Augustas?
Yes, so far so good. I liked how carefully you used the words adult beverage. It's probably not what you are holding in your hand right now.
Yeah, I actually don't drink alcohol, but I'm an adult, so anything I drink is an adult beverage. Right. Okay, so part of the reason we've going through all of this is to go from operator to visionary, right? And really, it means I don't want to just work in the business. I want to work on the business, and that's really where growth and scale come from. But this is not as simple as you saying, you know what? I'm not working on the business anymore or in the business anymore. I'm going to just work on the business. You have to put the people and the systems, overall, it's a process, into place so that you can then shift your time into setting strategy. What are we doing next month, next quarter, next year? And what resources do I need to make that come true? And then storytelling. This is, explaining to new hires and explaining to your existing team what mission you're on. This is also explaining to your suppliers, why they should give you more credit, because this is the mountain we're climbing. And then, focusing on being that fuel for growth. But all of these things that I've talked about earlier are how you get from point A to point B. You can't just wake up tomorrow and go, now I just work on the business. That is abdication of responsibility, not delegation. And those are critical differences. What do you think?
I think so far so good. It reminds me that I'm more operator than visionary still myself. Need to learn a lot from you.
Well, the truth is, as founders, it's most comfortable for us to be operators. We feel good when everybody comes and asks us the questions. We feel like we have value. But the truth is, you're only doing it right if the team is able to say, I have a problem. And instead of you solving it, you say, what's your solution, teammate? And if they don't have one, they have to go think about it and come up with one. And that's how you get a culture of progress and growth. It's not just saying, I want you to be better, faster, grow more, sell more. It's incentivizing the behaviors that make the team know that you trust them and that they have value, and they wouldn't be in that position if you didn't think they were capable. And then rewarding those, positive outcomes, not just saying, oh, here's more money, but saying, hey, you did a good job. We value what you do here and we appreciate you. Maybe you throw a plaque at somebody sometimes. That's really good stuff.
All right.
All right. So anybody who says they want to figure out, well, what do I do? How do I start with this? Again, if you don't know what these terms mean on the bullet points I'm about to cover, go to mymentorsteve.com and just go, hey, Steve says I should audit my time. Give me the SOP. How do I do it? Or Steve says I need to document my SOPs. Tell me how I should start. And it will just start rattling out answers for you. And the same thing goes with empowerment, which we just discussed a little bit. You empower your team by trusting your team, by putting people in place, giving them the problem to solve, and then not solving it for them. That doesn't mean you are abdicating, you're delegating, and then you're checking on it. So we use a term we call managing the monkey, but that comes from a book called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. This thing will take you less than 2 hours to read, and it can change your life. And I have very positive results for myself, but I also have friends that have used this, and they've told me, even as recently as a month or two ago, somebody that you guys would know, very famous in the industry, is like, that book recommendation changed my life. So I highly recommend you guys check it out. But when you do these things right and you follow these processes, right, for the empowerment, and then you're testing to validate it, it becomes something you can repeat. And you go, hey, are we spending our time well? Have we documented the system correctly? Are we getting the right outcome? Does the team feel empowered? And do the systems actually work? Most often, if something breaks, it's a system problem, not a people problem. And that's a critical difference. Augustus?
And one more time, the name of the book?
The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird title.
Everybody make notes. All right.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you spend time, just a couple hours to read that book, it can change your life when it comes to delegation. It's one of the most powerful books. And I think Michael Pinkowski, who shared it with me probably 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Oh, look at this, huh? Look at this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I almost never wear suit jackets, but Nano Banana says, hey, today you're a professional. So our objective here is not simply to build legacy, as the slide pronounces, but it's to build something that goes beyond you, right? So maybe you want the business to just stay under your control for the rest of your life. No problem. Fine. but that doesn't mean you have to be there every single hour of every single day. Before COVID, I didn't do any shipping, any container handling for probably 10 years. And we were doing, 1,500 to 2,000 containers a year, during certainly the latter half of that. The truth is, I don't even know how to clear customs. I don't know any of that stuff, but I had a great team who was able to do that. Now, COVID, still don't know how to clear customs. So I didn't start doing that, but I had to deal with shipping stuff and things that were historic in nature. And so I actually had to get much more involved in that than I had been for the prior 10 years. So sometimes there are exigent events that force us to deal with stuff, but most often, if you can get from leader or from operator into leader, right, where you're saying, all right, we have this issue, what do you guys think we should do, whether it's one person or a team, and you're adding in well, what about this idea, or what about that idea? The idea that the leader should know everything it's a fallacy. It's a founder's fallacy. How could we know everything? That's kind of impossible. But we can have good instincts. So our questions are how we get to those right answers, even if we truly don't know individually what we're doing. And natural curiosity is what can help drive this potential to build your legacy, right? You want your business, you want your people to go on and be important. And one of my things that I love the most is when somebody who's worked for me, 5 years ago or 20 years ago or more, and I see that they've built something big, they're operating a big business. This one has 4,000 employees and this one has this, and this one has that. Like, I'm proud of that. That it doesn't even have to be public. Like, I'm not even saying who they are or what they do, which would be very impressive, but it makes me feel good. That's part of what I think is important for a good leader. So that's kind of the wrap on that. Augustas, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yes, a very touching ending, very motivational. I have a few questions. Oh,
okay.
I think your
Let me see if I
microphone.
can figure out how to stop.
All good. Yeah. We don't see your screen, but you can stop sharing on your side. So when I was listening from the beginning, I hope some people are still watching who listened from the beginning. You said that you had like a mentor for 2 years when you were young, but it helped you to get your why. But I believe, or I feel like why is not enough to change this mindset from operator to kind of visionary. Like,
it's not.
So
Yeah.
how did you change this?
Yeah. So I had mentors along the way from time to time, but the one who really got me over the hurdle of finding my why, Bjorn Sva, great guy. And by the way, I resisted every second of that. I hated it. I thought it was stupid. I'm like, there's no way this makes any sense and can have any impact. I need to hustle and grind, right? That's my mentality. Was just like a lot of founders. But once we found the why, then we said, okay, now what is the company's strategic objective? How does the company serve my life, essentially? And then we said, all right, now that we know the company's strategic objective, what's the company story? And, what's, the company purpose, the marketing. And then we went on down the line. And the truth is, we're going to cover that formula, the starting part of that formula in the VIP session. We're going to get really deep into the woods, and the VIPs will get a 90+ page book that it's a PDF that I will, I normally, keep that to myself or to my people, but it's a highly valuable asset you guys get. VIPs only. And you're going to be able to take this and you're going to be able to see every little detail. All right, here's exactly how I find my why. You're not going to find it in the VIP session. Let me just tell you that. But you will have the tools to find it. And then you'll be able to move on and say, now, how do I find my company objective? How do I find my company story? And on to lay the groundwork to move from that on the business day-to-day from in the business day-to-day to on the business.
Great.
It's really going to be, it's the only time I'll be in Europe talking about this and doing a deep dive. And so if you are convenient to being in Europe. Frankly, if you're in America or Australia, I don't care where you're at. This may be the only time I do this publicly this year at all. So I'm not
Nice.
doing a lot of these, but it's valuable.
We appreciate you coming and sharing this knowledge. I have a few questions submitted by our readers before when we announced that you're coming to the stream. Somebody's asking, how have Trump's tariff affected your imports? Can you work around them? And if so, what is your top advice for online sellers that import themselves?
Okay, so the question is, have tariffs affected our imports? The answer is yes, because they affect everybody. But they affect us less than others because we saw this train coming 10 years ago. And so there are many videos I have on YouTube and podcasts, and probably sitting on the stage in your first conference, I remember talking a little bit about this. I'd have to go back to see the video to see if we got the details, but the world has changed, and anybody who thinks it's just a Trump problem is not thinking this all the way through. Biden took every Trump policy and absolutely operationalized it. So the global order is changing in that way. So the way you handle it, the way we handled it, is we started diversifying. We went to Vietnam, and the rest of Southeast Asia is a good replacement for China if China can't be competitive. Now, China is subsidizing. They're doing all kinds of things to try to keep some of the business. But there are just some businesses that, we have moved out of China entirely. In fact, we moved some of our Chinese people to Vietnam because there's no way to, they have no work to do in China, where they were full-time China inspectors not long ago. So, but the point is, how do you work around them? You don't cheat. They'll always get you. Don't try to get cute with, somebody who gives you, just import it to Canada and relabel it and slide it across the board. Like, don't try any of that. Death and taxes, they'll always get you. But we work with suppliers. Some of them will give us DDP terms where they're the importer of record, and that's, it's their problem. Just don't pay them ahead of time, because if that gets seized, if they're trying any games and it gets seized, that's your problem if you're paying them ahead. So I can tell you that I've done a number of podcasts and conversations about this. You can search for those. And again, they're mentor bots. I actually put up a tariff bot at one point. I don't know if it's still there or not.
All right. Yeah, I just found that video which you mentioned. Steve Simonson was in European Seller Conference 2019, the very first edition, 7 years ago. And this is the recording of that. It was a speaker panel about
the amazing selling
about
program.
China and importing and so on, so on, so on. Interesting to see.
Yeah. I think
Right.
the key takeaway from that session was that I was the funniest one on the panel. And that's all you really need to know.
Observing how others are holding the microphone.
Yeah. Well, I had to learn.
All right. We have another question from the listener. What are the most common pitfalls you have seen when scaling an Amazon business through importing products? And how can sellers avoid supply chain disruptions? I think it's by the same person.
Well, it is, the first one was focused on tariffs. So the biggest mistake I see people make is that they find a supplier that got them a decent shipment, and then they think that that's their supplier for life, that supplier has some special relationship with them. Oh, we've seen their kids, we met their family, we went out to dinner. Like, they think they have some magic relationship with their supplier. It's all nonsense. If you're not shopping around in the market to find out for other prices, then you are absolutely getting taken advantage of. And I had a case where I was buying from what I thought was a supplier, and I went to the factory with her. This is 20 plus years ago. Her name was chiseled in granite out in front of the thing, the name of her company out in front of the factory, in a foot tall granite, all probably 20 feet long. Her name's chiseled in granite. So I'm like, because I kept telling her, I think you're just an agent, don't lie to me. Oh no, I own the factory. And we show up, it's chiseled in granite. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm wrong, you're smart, I'm dumb, right? I did all the appropriate things. And 2 weeks later, I go back there with another, just a regular agent. They changed the granite out. The granite had somebody else's name slid in there, and it was actually the factory owner, and our price went down 40%. So I can just tell you that we all make mistakes, and assuming that you have one supplier that is going to be your answer is a rookie mistake, and you avoid supply chain disruptions by having more than one option.
Mm-hmm. And you said you moved out from China. So what are your main countries you are importing from?
So Vietnam has been a very robust replacement. Taiwan does some stuff for us. South Korea does some stuff. Thailand does some stuff. Cambodia does some. Basically, if you think of the entirety of Southeast Asia, then there's probably a replacement there. India, we've looked hard. We've tried to do stuff in India. We've done a little bit, but they are not real export focused. And I think they're not, like, from a population basis, they could easily take over from China, but from a road and you know, just call it cultural level, they are not ready. So I don't think India, unless you're in certain products, there are some products, plastic injection molding, some metals, some ceramics, that they can do uniquely well. But you better be really careful about your factory. Like, I would go and I'd make sure that they really are export focused. And in fairness, I've seen some of the best factories in India that are in the entire world in that category, but it's really hard to find them.
And what about Latin America? It's so near US for you, like Mexico. Have you found anything useful there?
Yeah, so we have, you know, we scour Mexico. Most of what was happening in Mexico was just Chinese fake companies. So they were just shipping the stuff from China, and, you know, they might do some finishing or they might do some painting or something, but it was just kind of pass-throughs. So while there is opportunity, especially if you're large industrialists in Mexico, most small guys, it's harder to find those. It doesn't mean they don't exist. And again, Monterrey, Mexico, right across the border from Texas, they do have certain specialties. And because products require raw materials, they require power, they require personnel with expertise, they tend to be regional. And so I look forward to Mexico and Colombia, you know, supplying raw materials to Mexico, and Honduras supplying raw materials to make Central America more and more important to America. But it'll take a while. We're doing some stuff in America itself. You can manufacture in America. You just have to have volume.
Right. Probably the last question. Based on your experience buying and selling companies, what key metrics should Amazon sellers focus on to maximize their business valuation for potential exit?
That's a very good question, but it is also, there too many variables for me to hit. So let me just give you a couple thoughts. The first is, you guys hear about EBITDA, right? Everybody's talking about, oh, EBITDA, you know, whatever that is, you're going to get this multiple, right? And then sometimes the multiple's 2, and sometimes it's 5 or 6. It depends on who you talk to and the time. And right now, the multiples for just a straight EBITDA thing are lower because not as many buyers. But that will actually come back, where e-commerce companies be worth a lot of money just based on that pure EBITDA. But I will tell you, I have a friend, he had a EBITDA of $1 million. And I sometimes do this from stage. I ask the people, how much is his company worth? And, you know, if it's 1 million EBITDA profit, then, you know, some people go 3 million, some people go 2 million, some people say 5 million, but he sold for $120 million. So how did he do that? Well, the answer is EBITDA is only for financial buyers. So people who are just buying purely on financial, they want to find something that's going to pay itself back in, you know, 2 or 3 years and has room for growth. This company he sold to was a strategic buyer who could take his company, which also was doing, by the way, $120 million, and could plug it in and take all those assets and growth and so on. So there are growth guys who are just like, I'm going to make this thing do tons of revenue. We're going to grow like crazy, and profit is not relevant. They have a different metric than a financial person. So if you're most of us have to deal with the reality of making money, then I would definitely focus on, you know, trying to get your top line growth growing fast and try to keep your bottom line growing at the same rate. So if your top line is going to grow at, let's say, 100%, your bottom line just has to stay with it. It doesn't have to grow in addition. But what happens is a lot of times people grow like crazy and their margin actually goes down. Their net profit goes down. And so I would just be careful of that. Sometimes that's unavoidable if you're going super fast. But the number one thing I would say, and this is counterintuitive, is if you focus like you're going to operate it forever, find your own metrics that mean the most to you, every opportunity will come to you in terms of selling that business later. If you only focus on how to sell it, you're going to get tied up and twisted up in short-term thinking. That's terrible for the business.
Nice advice. Thanks, Steve. And I think, yeah, that's it. Let's finish with these nice advices. And I will just remind that those who are coming to Prague, they will meet Steve in about 2 months, in less than 2 months, in our 6th European Seller Conference. You can still get tickets and see you there. And yeah, thank you, Steve. Thanks for your time. Thanks for patience, joining us again during your disconnection.
Yeah, my apologies on that. You guys should have seen that content I was delivering to nobody. It was gold. And I'm sorry you got the bronze, but yeah, deal with it. And I will just tell everybody, like, you should be in Prague. If you're not ready for the VIP, you're not ready for that, you know, going from $5 to $50 million kind of conversation. That's okay, but you've got to be at the conference, not just because I'll be there, although that's enough. You should go because this is how you interact with your peers. This is how you get that momentum. And all those people at home, their friends, their family, they love you. They want you to do well, but they don't understand what you're doing. Your people who understand you are at this conference. That's why you should be there. You'll learn lots. It'll be great. And VIPs, you're going to knock it out of the park with this stuff. But I can just tell you that I'm going for the very specific purpose of being in Europe and giving you guys access to a little bit of that old Steve experience.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you for your time. I know you charge 6 or 5 figures each companies who want to consult with you. So thanks for spending time with us. Let me check. There is, I think, some big commenting that they are coming to Prague. I'm looking forward to Wednesday session in Prague. Okay, so somebody's joining your VIP day. I don't know exactly who. Illy33. Perfect.
Love it.
All right.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys. Listen, I love entrepreneurs. I think the founder's journey is something that is so important for the world, right? Founders make the world a better place. So come and join me in Prague, and I will be there and do everything I can to point you in the right direction and possibly crack a joke or two. You never know.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye-bye, Steve.
See you later. Bye, everybody.
And now I would like to invite you to watch another video, which will help you to get some more ideas and strategies on how you can grow your Amazon FBA business. So check this out.